Hi, this is Greg Kihlstrom. Welcome to the Agile World podcast, where we discuss customer experience, employee experience, and transformation in an agile age. The Agile World podcast is brought to you by TEKsystems, an industry leader in full-stack technology services, talent services, and real-world application. For more information, go to teksystems.com. To read more about the topics discussed on this show, you can go to my website at theagile.world and read my latest articles or get a copy of my latest book, The Center of Experience, a blueprint for creating an experience-led organization, now available on Amazon and other retailers. Hi, this is Greg Kihlstrom, host of the Agile World podcast. Today we're going to talk about the intersection of customer experience, or CX, and employee experience, or EX. I talked a bit about this in the last episode about the center of experience, but I wanted to dive in a little bit deeper and really just underscore that these two things, while they're often treated as completely separate things, are so related. Successful companies have always understood that happy customers buy more, they buy more often, and are more likely to recommend others to buy as well. But they also understand that happy employees stay longer at a company, are generally more productive, and contribute to making these happier customers. So really tying these things together becomes so critical. And I talked about this concept of brand experience equals customer experience plus employee experience. That's such a key concept because when we can really tie these things together, we can start making meaningful change and impacts. So the way we can do this, I'll talk through a few ideas here. It starts at listening to both sets of audiences. I talked a bit about listening to customer feedback in the last episode. Talk a little bit more about that. So I think on the employee side, we can start there. On the employee side, it's not just enough to take engagement surveys. And while that's helpful information to see, there's often not a lot to do with it. And I think, from some stats that I've read, a lot of HR practitioners are saying same thing. It's useful to see, but there's not a lot to do with it. They don't necessarily do a lot with it. And so we need to think of better ways and do better things to get more central to the issue of, how do we create happy, in this case, happy employees. At Cravity, we have a product called Motivator that goes a lot deeper. I'll talk about this a little bit later when we talk about intrinsic motivation in a later episode. But at a very high level, engagement is an outcome of your experience as an employee. Motivation is something that is much more fundamental. And I put that in motivated employee, and I qualify it motivated, not just an employee, at the center of the center of experience. Because I think, once we can really motivate someone and intrinsically motivate them, so really at their core, they will be, dedicated, they will stay longer, they will be more productive, and they will contribute to others having a better experience as well. And so some of those others might be employees, some of those others might be customers as well. And so it really flows from within, having that motivated, happy employee. And this idea of motivation, it also extends to customers. Because there is so much choice available, you can pretty much buy whatever you want, whenever you want, on whatever device happens to be in front of you. Customers need to be motivated to support a brand or a product or a service. And so, it's not enough to just have a good product. Having a functional competence is kind of table stakes at this point. So making the experience great, as I talked about in the Agile brand, that evolution of brands started at recognition to problem solving to experience and ultimately to a relationship. Having that great experience over time. So in other words, a great experience over time is a relationship. Having that relationship means that I know that I can depend on a product or service to not only fulfill my needs, but I will either it will be an enjoyable process or it'll be a frictionless process, or ideally both. And so giving that to your customers means they're going to buy more often, and recommend as well. And all of this really ties into this idea of this holistic brand experience, as I've talked about already. Um, Happy employees create better products too. They not only, are stay longer, have longer tenure, and are more productive, but they often have better ideas. Because they care. They come up with innovative ideas because they know that their ideas are valued. And when they solve a great problem, that it may be adopted, and things like that. And customers do the same thing. There's a lot of several examples I've talked about. I know in my books before, a couple jump to mind. Dell, the Idea Storm website, soliciting customer ideas. What a simple idea to basically ask your customers what they'd like. And yet, how many of their competitors have failed to do that? So, Dell really understood that. And, from their perspective, it's free product ideas. Why wouldn't they do that? They got a lot of good ideas and learned a lot about their customers by doing that. So really, not only giving feedback, but soliciting feedback can go a long way. And the added benefit is when your feedback is accepted, and, it's not that not every idea has to be adopted. Obviously, not every idea will be adopted, but when you feel like your ideas are valued, when you feel like you are valued and valuable, you are more likely to support, whether that's as a customer or an employee. And so this creates that holistic brand experience. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next week. Thanks again for listening to the Agile World podcast, brought to you by TEKsystems. I'm your host, Greg Kihlstrom. You can learn more and get a copy of my latest book, The Center of Experience, from my website at theagile.world or on Amazon or other retailers. Until next week, stay agile.